Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Crypto Waffle episode 22. Today is our first ever episode of having a special guest. So please welcome Ninja T from the Blockchain Sensei team.
What's up?
Tariffs and topics for today. Topic one, Tariff Trouble. Topic two, Liquidity Breakdown. And topic three, Dip or Death. So to kick it off, Ninja, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, give us the full background.
Yes, what's good, people? My name is Fadlan, or I'm more known online as Ninja T. I consider myself a cryptopreneur. I've been in crypto since 2015, full time since 2021. I'm most known publicly for founding a company called Blockchain Sensei, which is a Web3 education and um, cons- Web3 education and consultation company. We've also got a subsidiary company called Foundation Ventures, which our CEO Michael Harding leads, and that's to do with kind of like corporate deals in crypto. And yeah, just having fun like everybody else in Web3. I'm also doing some business development as well um, for a crypto at the moment, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Lovely stuff. Right,
Did you
let's kick
did
it off.
did you just say having fun? Because I've I've not had any fun in crypto since 2024. So unless you're short in, it does seem to be quite bad. I guess that takes us on to our first topic: is these old
Yeah,
tariffs.
yeah. Hit us with it. What's the latest on the Trump tariff news?
I don't know. So this morning we woke up and the markets were horrific. We were worried going into the weekend because things were bad on Friday. And as we discussed on Friday, the weekends often is when there's a lot of movement because there's very thin liquidity because a lot of places are closed. So prices can move. We got through Saturday night and I thought, oh, we might squeeze through here. And then Sunday, we got hit like a train. Everything is down across the board. Over the last 24 hours, Ethereum is down like 12%, back down to around 1500. Bitcoin dropped below 80,000. I think it was down to like 76 at its lowest today.
Yeah,
And it's just been an absolute bloodbath. The real question, I guess, is this crypto only? Is this right across the board, including stocks? But seeing as we've got a guest, I guess let's ask Ninja. Ninja, how are you feeling about these tariffs and the way that it's wrecked the crypto market?
Do you know what? I'm so glad that as someone who's an OG and been in the space for so long, you started off by saying, I don't know. And that is a very, very honest way to start things because um, I, I was expecting drawdown, but I wasn't expecting it this bad and this fast. Um, I've been in market since 2015. I've never quite seen anything quite like this. COVID kind of made sense with regards to like the whole world locking down. But tariffs is quite an interesting one because we really care as market participants, but the average person doesn't care at all. The average person in the world right now is walking around not even thinking about these tariffs. And the only people really thinking about tariffs are people such as ourselves that are in the market or anybody who's really involved in politics. So yeah, the sell-off has been quite violent. I'm quite lucky because I've positioned myself in a lot of cash. I broke a big investor rule and I sold low to buy back lower, which was very, very dangerous. Um, so yeah, I'm feeling confident in us bottoming out in the near future, and also I'm not a macro economist, but I do believe that tariffs will eventually lead to money printing because somebody's going to pay the tariffs, right? If everything's going to go up, that's forcing hyperinflation, and at the end of the day, things need to be paid for, whether they're expensive or not. So I actually
yeah,
think that it's tariffs are short to mid-term bearish, but long-term still bullish, and it actually supports the argument of a super cycle slash delayed bull market top, which as time goes on, I'm more and more convinced is going to be the
Yeah.
likelihood.
I'll tell you what I'm actually surprised about. So we said this was a fast, quite violent drawdown. I am surprised Bitcoin hasn't gone 40+% down. Now, we know the S&P from top to bottom is down 22 odd percent. Bitcoin's only down about 30. Now, if you had said last year the S&P would down 20 and Bitcoin would only be down 30, I'd be like, what have you been smoking? It probably should be down double digits, like double the S&P 40. So I'm actually quite surprised. I know we say it's been quite short and sharp, but I think that's within TradFi. I actually don't think the crypto sell-off has been that violent. It's not like the liquidation cascades we had back in early Feb. Like that was fast.
I think the interesting thing is probably, is Bitcoin acting as a hedge at the
I
moment
think there's an
against
argument to say so.
TradFi? Because well, I guess back in the day, that was Bitcoin's role. It was a hedge. So if things were bad in the traditional markets, much like gold, you would expect that Bitcoin to do well.
Yeah,
But now we've become a risk asset. So when the traditional markets do badly, Bitcoin usually does worse. But you're right, in this last few days, that hasn't been the case. Um, I was interested actually, Ninja, as you said about the super cycle thesis. If you could explain to us what that is, because I don't think neither me nor the Financial Navigator have uh, brought up the super cycle thesis before. So do you want to tell us what the thesis is?
Yeah, sure. So I could be wrong, but in my understanding, a crypto super cycle is basically where the market keeps climbing, takes drawdowns, keeps climbing, but we don't see the historical previous violent bear market drawdowns where Bitcoin draws down by more than 70%. Like the January 2018 Bitcoin high was around 20,000, and then the low, I believe in COVID, was around 3,000. So that's like 80% plus. The November 2021 high was 68,000, and the November 2022 low, last time I remember, was it 18,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, something
I
like
feel
that.
like I saw 16.
I think it was
But
Yeah.
15 something.
Oh, was it? Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't
depends
remember
where
the
you went,
exact
I
low.
guess.
But it's a theory where crypto gets more and more adopted within the next kind of 5 to 10 years. Not altcoins, specifically Bitcoin, and for Bitcoin to not draw down by crazy numbers, i.e., more than 60%. I think that becomes more and more of a possibility
yeah,
as more of the world's liquidity pool is literally locked in Bitcoin. What did they say for the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve? Didn't they say something like they will never sell the Bitcoin that was bought, or something along those lines?
yeah.
Um,
Essentially, I think that's what they put forward.
yeah. So I think, and there's companies like MicroStrategy which will basically never ever sell Bitcoin, according to Michael Saylor. All he'll ever do is loan against it and then to buy more BTC, right? So there's already so much of the Bitcoin supply that in theory should never be sold. It should, in my opinion, create some kind of institutional floor to create a possibility, and the possibility becoming more and more likely, that insane drawdowns, i.e., more than 60% in Bitcoin, should in the near future be no longer. That's what I believe. It is becoming more and more of a likelihood. I don't want to say that we're entering a super cycle, but things like these tariff wars increase the probability of it being so, and if not a super cycle, a delayed bull market where the top is somewhere in 2026, not this year.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great explanation. I think we've briefly touched on that before, but it's never really been on our bingo cards per se. for this cycle anyway. I think we've talked about it maybe being down the line. We've definitely brought up the risk. I think I've brought up the risk of next bear market could be abnormal. We only see a 40% correction rather than, as you were just saying, that standard 60 to 70. And I think that becomes everyone's biggest risk, quite frankly, going forwards that are looking to get into this market.
Historically, I guess we've always kind of thought of it as having this bull market that just rages on and rages on. We've never really considered it to be a bear market that's like just really short. Like, what if we're in the bear market now, but the bear market only lasts till November this
I
year?
think that's a possibility because I mean, there's two scenarios that I personally think we could be in. Now, again, I could be wrong, but at the end of the day, us lot here, we're not in the business of being right. We're in the business of making money. So we could be incorrect at all times. Um, but the two theses are for me here is that we could be in a bear market now. This isn't my base case. We see someone or something break somewhere, causing the Fed or whoever the it could be the PBOC, the ECB, whoever it is, to then let off some sort of big stimulus package. We then see some sort of like V reversal. I don't think it will be as fast as say COVID. I could see it being a bit lagged. And we top out as a we're in that bear market now. We come down to maybe Q1, Q2, 26. And it will just, I think if that is the case, the majority of move is done. I think there may be further downside, but it won't be much. And then the second scenario, which is what I'm more putting my weight behind, is that we will break something down here. It will cause this potential black swan that we've mentioned. This tariff news could cause that, whatever that may be. That breaks something. They print. Then we hit that V reversal higher for what I would say is the final blow off top for this cycle. Then looking into late 26-ish or Q2 26, have that bear market into 27. But the only thing that kind of puts me off that is I think Trump will want markets running for the hills or rapidly running upwards coming to midterms. And I think that's in November 26.
So me and you, Financial Navigator, we've got our own ways we like to handle these sharp drawdowns. I know you like to DCA in. I like to try and catch the falling knife. Ninja, seeing as we've got you here, what would your game plan be in a situation like this? And which sorts of assets would be the first ones that you would be thinking about buying, and which ones are the types of assets that you'd be thinking, no way, I'm going to stay well away from them?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I'm going to bring a bit of a less conventional investment thesis into crypto, and it's my love of stablecoins. So an unconventional thing I tell people is that my favorite crypto is USDC, because I can buy anything with USDC and then sell it back into USDC and keep crypto, right? So in a perfect world, like Warren Buffett, because I'm a huge studier of Buffett. This is I'm revisiting one of his best biographies. This guy had $9,800 in the 50s and flipped it to 140K in 6 years, between 1950 and 1956. So if there's somebody who understands like buying the dip and buying value, accumulating value and selling into cash, it's Buffett, right? So I tried to use his cash is king over to crypto, which is USDC is king. So since 2023, I've made a point to have a war chest of stable coins, where my actual goal is to always increase the stablecoin by buying dips and then selling back into stablecoin and or more stablecoin whilst keeping some crypto. And I call it refund trading, right? Because the only thing that's real besides Bitcoin is probably USDC. So I'm very big on increasing the war chest, which is why I'm actually quite happy. Even though I didn't sell the highs of late January, I did exit into USDC around like 2,300 Ethereum. So I'm very happy that I made that decision, although it was risky. Yeah, so I'm really big on always increasing a USDC stablecoin war chest, which I aggressively refund trade. I buy dips and then sell highs, even at like 50 to 70%, because I'm very confident scaling in with size. Second of all, I'm really huge on over collateralized loans. So I love Aave. And what I like to do is I like to try to not only buy the dip, but I try to time a really low average price to buy the dip and then loan against the asset. Let's say for example, I'll give a real life example. Let's say I accumulate 3 Ethereum at an average price of $1,400. Let's say I buy it now at 1,500. I snipe the bottom at, let's say, 1,250, and then I buy another one at maybe like 1,350. And then I've done my analysis, and I believe that Ethereum's not really going to go lower than this. So with that 3 ETH, what I will do is that I will take a reasonable over-collateralized loan on Aave, maybe 10 to 30% of the LTV, and then I will buy the same asset again. So I'll buy Ethereum again. And then with that Ethereum, I'll stick it back in the collateral. And then as Ethereum rises, once it hits a certain target price, let's say $2,000, I'll withdraw X amount of Ethereum to pay off the debt, and then essentially I've printed ETH. So like I'm really big on printing Ethereum. Upon reflection, I probably should have been more bullish on Bitcoin. I was like the biggest ETH maxi ever for a long time. But yeah, them are my main strategies. Always have a USDC war chest that increases. Spot refund trade aggressively. Buy into EVMs at the dip, particularly Ethereum and AVAX. I really like, and BNB. Loan against the collateral to rebuy the same asset again, to put it back into collateral, and then at some point I pay off the debt with the collateral that's risen. It's quite a high level strategy, and it can be stressful at times because especially when the market nukes, you got to make sure.
Yeah,
you're
one
right.
downside I would say to that sort of stuff. So I've got a client that I was talking to actually today, this morning.
Yeah,
Um, he has had to keep rebuying ETH to knock down his liquidation price as it keeps coming close. Now, luckily for him, he's obviously got a large cash holdings aside, so he can keep knocking it down. I think he should survive. But the one drawdown, I think, risk of that metric is that if you do have a limited cash reserve, if you end up going through it, that can wipe you out very quickly. Obviously, with that sort of strategy, I think you need some very high level risk management experience to do that. Because I think your average person would probably just end up getting liquidated, especially in these sorts of markets as are now.
I
yeah,
don't.
100%. Sorry, I'm just gonna counter that for a quick second to make the average person understand this. If anybody ever wants to get in loans, the number one thing that I know all the time is that I have a liquidation price across all my loan structures. So, for example, right now I'm in 5 ETH loan structures, right? 3 of them are on ETH, and then 2 of them are on ETH base. Across the board, on one account I've got 2 ETH, another account I've got 0.75. Across the board, I have the exact same liquidation price, and it's actually quite easy to measure. So, for example, I've got one loan where it goes as following: I've got 1 Ethereum in Aave, and I've taken out an $800 loan against that 1 Ethereum. Well, it was actually more than $800 before, but I've slashed it down. I know that the liquidation price is quite simply $1,000. Because 1,000 times 0.8 is 800, which is the debt against the ETH. So as long as you have a fixed liquidation price against your loans, I don't need to log into Aave every day. I know the liquidation price, and I can see on TradingView because I just marked it out. But yeah, you're right.
Do you think
It's not for everyone.
do you think that ETH could go to that K?
I think it is possible. If ETH pulls down to like 1.3, then I'll slash the loans again and then take my liquidation price to 750, 800. But right now, I don't think it's not gonna go to 1K overnight. You know what I mean? I
Never
mean,
say never.
never say never, but
The
that's
famous last
extremely unlikely.
words.
Yeah, it's extremely unlikely.
Yeah, I think highly unlikely as well.
So I guess there's two things about that. I think one is that yeah, I don't think it's a matter of experience really regarding whether or not you should play with leverage because that's what we're discussing here. I think you just need to know yourself as a person. So I know
Yeah,
leverage is a bad idea for me because I love risk. So I will be on there and I'll be like, right, well, let's go then. 10x leverage and let's hope hope Ethereum doesn't drop 10% because otherwise I'm out. The second thing I wanted to actually ask about was, do you remember the Silvergate Bank problem that we had? Was it Silvergate? It's called
yeah,
in America, where the USDC almost collapsed. It almost
yeah.
depegged
Depegged.
because I have a very similar strategy to yours, whereby I do like to sit in stables when the world is crumbling. But after that USDC situation, I'm now kind of I was leaning towards sitting in Ethereum. Now that's a bad idea. So now I'm wondering about sitting in Bitcoin as Bitcoin being the safest because although the USDC may stay more stable than Bitcoin, do you feel that it's worth the added risk? Although the risk is small, it's worth the added risk that your USDC gets depegged or your USDT.
You know what? I I think USDC is now at a point of no return. Because it's owned by Circle. And then I forget the exact structure. Does
They're
Coinbase
partly
own?
owned by, yeah, Coinbase owned part of
Yeah,
Circle.
Circle are
yeah,
going to
by
do an
Coin.
IPO, aren't they? Very soon.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
that was on our bingo card. I think it was on mine.
yeah.
I think USDC is. I I mean, if USDC depegs, I'm absolutely fucked. But
Do you think it's too big to fail?
I do think USDC is too big to fail. At the same time, I actually think Tether is too big to fail. Also, I used to believe Tether might depeg, but I completely changed my mind when I went to Hong Kong. I don't know if you guys know or not, but Hong Kong, before Dubai was the money capital of the world, there is liquidity for USDT everywhere in Hong Kong. You actually understand why things like Litecoin still exist as well and Bitcoin Cash. So 24/7 you can convert specifically USDT on TRX for cash 24/7 in everywhere, not everywhere, but in many places in Hong Kong and around Asia. So yeah, out of USDC and USDT, I pick USDC because I believe that it's more regulated. But I actually don't believe that. I do believe the stable coins should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Time wise, let's make sure we don't run out your the 1 hour thing that we was trying to keep.
I think we're going over the hour today. We always go over the hour.
I know.
So, do you want to jump into what you've got us for Liquidity Ninja? Do you want to explain where we are on the liquidity cycle, what
Yep.
we're about to see, what may be coming in the short term?
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna give away one of my secrets. Picture. Okay, 1 second. So this is a website called tlx.figisolutions.net. I believe the website was actually formed by Professor Adam from Andrew Tate's Real World, which is why it says therealworld.com on here. So there's one data set that I like to show everybody, and that is, let's go as far as possible. That is the data set that there is less liquidity right now than there was in 2020 in Q1 2024. So whilst FedNet liquidity has been decreasing, the price of Bitcoin has been increasing. 1 second. So take this off. Make this really, really clean. Okay, so let's go to Q1 2024. Q1 2024.
Is that global liquidity that's been decreasing? Or was that
No, the Fed.
Fed net liquidity?
Yes. So Q1 2024. Okay, we were down here. So for 1 year, whilst liquidity, so January 2024 to January 2025. That's a 2.5x in Bitcoin. But the Fed net liquidity has been sliding down. Now this shows the risk appetite of the world and indicates, in my opinion, a change in institutional money flow for this to go up. Because remember, this liquidity is mainly institutional, right? Not retail driven like in 2021.
Do you know what else was around that January 2024?
What was around here? Wasn't it?
Yeah. What was the other big thing that we had?
Wasn't it the ETFs that got approved?
Yes, the BlackRock ETF was plugged in Jan 2024.
Yeah, and Ethereum was a few months later, right? Was it March?
Yeah.
So we've had all this go up, but everyone who knows crypto, everyone who's been in crypto for at least 4 years knows that in this whole year, this is the only people that have cared about crypto going up this year has been institutions and people already in crypto. Like, if you really think about it, as somebody in crypto, do you, just using your common sense, do you feel retail pushing this at all?
No.
Like, it's not, people have just not cared about crypto. This is reflective in Blockchain Sensei lives as well. Because in 2021, we was getting 40 people in the lives. And that shows a large retail interest, right? So, this liquidity has been sliding down and has bottomed out towards the end of the year. Now, I don't want to do TA on liquidity, but these look like higher lows. And this, if I draw a trend line here, right, which you shouldn't do on liquidity because it's not a bloody chart, right? But this is telling me this is going up. Okay, so data set number 1. Now, here you've got overnight reverse repurchase agreements. And if we just zoom in a little bit to just from January, okay, we can see that every time this spiked up, it pretty much, it was pretty much a bottom in liquidity. Then liquidity spiked afterwards. So
it's inverse to liquidity.
Yeah. So look, 28th of March. Pretty much. Sorry, 1 second. This here is 28th of the 3rd. This here is the 28th of the 3rd, right? And then liquidity spikes, and then this here is the 28th of the 6th, and then this here is 28th of the 6th.
And do you reckon that was caused by the Fed using that reverse repo to actually get liquidity into the markets, which is why obviously they are inversely correlated?
I'm trying to think. What is the exact exact explanation with regards to this? So, according to my understanding, this is when the Fed takes a short-term loan against the stock market. I believe Cryptosi, feel free to correct me on this. I don't know the exact reason why the inverse relationship exists, but I believe it's something along those lines of borrowing cash against stocks and then repaying the loan and then having to push liquidity into the market.
I'll tell you what, I am the last person you should ask about any of that TradFi stroke, liquidity stroke, Fed related stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the reverse repo is so banks, if they have liquidity sat on the side doing nothing effectively, they will go to the Fed and then ask the Fed will go, look, right, we'll look after your dollars for say 24 hours. We'll give you X amount of percentage interest, and then come the next day at that same time they will get their money back for slight interest. Now, I believe the reverse repo that the Fed can dip into, no, not the reverse repo, there's a different name for it. Oh, my mind's gone completely blank. Yeah, but the Fed can dip into basically their pot. So they have their pot, which is funding for, say, in the UK, it'd be councils and all that sort of stuff. That the US's funding will come out of this Federal Reserve's pot. Now, as they come into inauguration day and new president comes in, this pot normally comes to a dwindling decline. Now, that is when the Fed is putting money out of this pot to go into markets. That's, I think, why we're seeing an inverse correlation there between those two charts. And when that pot gets dry, all of a sudden the Fed need to fill up their savings again. Now, how would they normally do that? They would withdraw liquidity from the markets. Now, obviously, if the markets have just tanked like this, I can't see the Fed coming in and going, right, we're going to fill up our savings pot by selling this, this, and this. I mean, the markets have already been absolutely slashed. So the other way they have of doing this would just be to print some more money effectively and buy more treasuries to then top it up, from what I understand. Again, could be completely wrong, but we're not in the business of being right. We're in the business of trying to make some money.
Yeah. So then the final data set that that's meant to show is the Treasury General Account. So this is basically the savings account. And we can see that the savings account, they have the least amount of savings since the peak, which was the 23rd and the 4th. And this has to spill into liquidity. In fact, we can just go back to the 16th of March and then see. Yeah, so we can see here that the bottom in the past few years was around June 2023, and that seems to be where we're heading. Less and less in the TGA, which will eventually spill into liquidity. So the fact that there's tariffs right now, again, it is bearish for price action in the short term, but it further supports the argument that money has to be printed at some point. This basically can't go on forever. Then after that, some extra data, not necessarily liquidity, but this is a website called charts.checkonchain.com, and I recommend everybody get familiar with a few indicators on here and data sets. One thing that I like to look at is the short-term holder supply in profit and loss ratio. So short-term holders meaning less than 155 days. We're pretty much at the slap bang bottom buy signal here, right? Which historically has been a great time to buy, right? Then we've got come on. We've got the short-term holder MVRV indicator, which has almost touched this blue line here, which is often a buy signal. And then we've got the short-term holder MVRV Bollinger Bands, which hit a buy signal in Feb, and then it's been climbing upwards, and we've crossed the oversold level here, which is another buy signal. So they're just three things on check on chain, and I do believe right now there is a lot of capitulation in the market, and even though I don't think that things are going to reverse immediately, I do feel like this is a good buying opportunity, and I don't believe that we're entering a bear market on the pure basis of, to me, what I understand about liquidity in bear markets, and I can be wrong, is that there doesn't just need to be a price peak. There needs to be a liquidity peak. Like liquidity has to slide up, get to the peak, and then slide down, and then we go into a bear market. But the fact that liquidity hasn't peaked, like we've had all-time highs whilst liquidity's been drained. So what's going to happen when liquidity pumps? I think.
Well, I think we
in
saw that in. Sorry, Ninja, carry on.
No, that's it.
I think we saw that in. Did I go over the report last week? We saw financial conditions loosening rapidly. Now, when we see the likes of the US dollar 10-year yield and that drop, that normally causes a massive easing in financial conditions. Now, financial conditions easing rapidly are a forward-looking indicator, I believe, about 10 to 12 months forward-looking indicator. Now, they've been easing for a while. And I was literally just checking a minute ago, Ninja, whilst you had the screens. The 10-year yield today is up 4.5%, massively. So last week we finally dropped that below that head and shoulders. If anyone's in the free Telegram, mine, you would say I've been looking at for, well, probably since February, marking a potential head and shoulders out. But we've now reversed back up above that neckline. So that would indicate that financial conditions could be tightening again in the shorter term, but obviously that lags. So at the moment, financial conditions will still be looking to ease, and that's why we've been saying, and we've probably been on the bullish side of everything for the last, well, since 2024, because the forward-looking indicators are still looking bullish. And I think even if you look at the global liquidity chart and overlay that with Bitcoin, it shows that we are in these dates where we should be putting in a bottom soon. It's just how low is that bottom, and where do we see it in the market effectively?
Would Warren Buffett be buying right now?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm also of the opinion, though, going forwards, that Cathie Wood will probably actually be a bigger name than Warren Buffett. So.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think the mighty Cathie Wood. I mean, no one talks about what she did during COVID. No one talks about that. They talked about obviously the downfall of ARK during the bear market of 22, but then again, she does hold assets that are risk on tech, and they get slashed when they get slashed. But I think going forward, Cathie Wood could definitely be throwing some shade at Warren Buffett down the line.
I've got I've got one more little data set provided by one of my professors. So it's called the GLI versus BTC. So this is the Global Liquidity Index, and it's basically been indicating that whilst global liquidity has been going up since November 2024. There's a fair value gap, and I don't know exactly how this fair value is measured, but according to this model, by definition of global liquidity, Bitcoin's fair value should be at 100K now, and it's according to my professor, one of the guys that I listen to a lot. Even though it makes sense for risk on assets to be in drawdown because of macro fears, mainly the tariff, but by this measurement of liquidity, like fair value liquidity, Bitcoin is underpriced right now, and should go back to all-time highs.
Yeah,
so,
I think looking forward, I think most risk assets within the crypto space, or especially the bigger layer ones, Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, they're all, I would say, undervalued at current price. When you look maybe a year, two down the line from where we are now.
Yeah, I'm trying to really think. What are the next really? Okay, so let's say we're not in a bear market, and we see big chop and drawdown in Q2, right? I actually think things are going to turn around before the end of the quarter, but we'll see, right? think about the opportunity that we had mid bull market in 2021. There was actually so many easy 7 to 10x's plus between the accumulation zone of mid 2021 and the November 2021 blow off top. I don't want to miss those opportunities, you know. Like I'm really considering loading heavy on Ton and Sui, because think of it like this, right? As bullish as everyone is about Solana right now, can you recall somebody who was extremely bullish on Solana in Q4 2022 or Q1 2023? Because I only became bullish on Solana in Q3 2020. It was August 2023. I remember I copped a lot of Solana around $20 to $30, and I sold most of them at $100.
I mean, so I was actually telling this story to Cryptosi at the weekend, and I bought a big bag of Sol, or my biggest bag of Sol, down at like $8 or whatever it was, and that was in, I want to say, late 2022 Q4-ish, just before we had the bottom. And I can only tell I did have no fundamental analysis of this at all. Okay, I was at an event and there were some big boys around the table. All I was doing was shutting up and listening, and all I could hear was Solana, 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 Solana. So then I come away from that and thought, right, well, you just need to buy a big bag of Solana. And then before you know it, this thing absolutely ripped. And then you see the on-chain activity and you see why it ripped. So I think if they can continue to have or show that they have TVL, that they have users daily, that people are using the chain, then I think they'll be fine. I don't think there's going to be any major drop off. But I do think Ton is one of their biggest competitors that no one looks about, because at the switch of a finger, they have over 1 billion people on chain, like literally. A lot of people that I talk to about Telegram, they don't even know they've got a wallet within their Telegram that's already inbuilt. All they've got to do is set it up and they can receive USDC, USDT, like that. And I'll show a chart now on that. So there's this really lovely chart that I've come across.
So one of the reasons why I'm super happy right now about this market drawdown is because it's because of my confidence that the market is going to shoot up at some point, and the fact that there's really great bargains right now. Like if Ton goes down to oh nice.
So this is Ton versus Sol. Okay, now again, as I've said many times this time, we are not in the job of being right, but this is showing if we are to break to the upside. Now historically, these descending triangles with flat bottoms are typically more weighted as a bearish pattern than bullish, but if this is to break to the upside, Sol is going to get slapped around by Ton. Okay, I'm just telling you what the chart's going to tell us.
You mean
no? This is Sol. This is Sol that's going to get slapped by Ton.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry.
At the moment, Sol has obviously been outperforming, but if this is to break to the upside, we're definitely targeting this green box, and for the shorter term, so going out till maybe Jan 26, so from now to the end of the year, Ton could massively outperform Sol. Now, something that I'm actually looking at doing myself is rotating out of all Sol assets and into the Ton ecosystem if this is to break. And I do think Ton itself has better upside than Sol here, purely because where Sol has come this bull market, i.e. down from those low single figures all the way up to near enough $300, if not more, whereas Ton has been in a very slow, steady sort of channel, which I'll get up here, which you can see. And we're literally just in the bottom end of that channel now. So if you're going to bid Ton, not financial advice, this is where I'd be looking to bid it, at the lower end of this boundary.
You know also, sorry, go on.
Yeah, something that was interesting about the fundamentals behind Solana and where we are now, like away from the charts and all these other things, is when crypto started, a huge, I guess, buzzword or meme, even as it is now, was decentralization. And that was mostly because most crypto was kind of outlawed in most parts of the world, either like explicitly or secretly in like America and the UK. Now, projects like Ethereum were very decentralized, and projects like Solana were very centralized. And I remember at late 2018, I think it was, thinking, oh, I might go and get on this Solana thing. I heard about it, I heard it was really fast and this, that, and the other. And I sat down with some of my friends, and they're like technical guys, and they were like, well, look, the problem is that the nodes, you have to have a supercomputer to run a node, you have to do KYC to run a node, so it's really not crypto at all. It's just a fancy, expensive database. On the basis of that, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get it because it's not crypto. They can shut it down at any moment. Of course, they didn't shut it down, and it for whatever reason, it was backed by Bankman-Fried and these other people who were big names and got deep pockets and could pay politicians and whatnot. And Solana actually went to the moon. Then, when it pulled back, a lot of those same people were like, you see, I told you so. That's the problem with decentralized networks. If the figureheads fall over, the entire network falls over. And then now people were saying, oh, it's a centralized network, and if you go to Solana's headquarters, there's nothing there, etc., etc. It's going to go to zero. And it went all the way down to $8. And
Yeah,
now
that
it's
was
come,
this bit here, just for
right,
reference.
exactly. And now it's come racing back. The difference being now is that now crypto is very, very legal. And that kind of leads us on to our last topic, which is dip or dead. So now that crypto is very, very legal, what is Ethereum's reason to be? Because decentralization now is needed, I guess, less than ever, because you're trying to disrupt something that's not necessarily needing to be disrupted. So will the decentralization of Ethereum be worth anything, or will everybody just move to the likes of Solana, I guess, BNB and Ton and other L1s which are more centralized?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not really sure which one will be the winning chain. Obviously, we have in-looks to that with the likes of on-chain data and whatnot, so you can monitor this stuff. The beauty of all of this crypto stuff is it's on chain, so you can at home see the activity of these chains, and obviously put your money where your mouth is with regards to which one you think will do best over time. ETH has been the most, I would say, hated one this cycle, massively. And you can see why, because if you had bought at the peak in pretty much Jan 2018, you're pretty much at the same price. Even if you did buy at that peak, you're merely up around 15%, if most, over that absolutely agonizing period, effectively. Now, I am of the opinion, I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm of the opinion that all of this is going a hell of a lot higher, the majority of these stronger assets. And I am of the opinion that this dip should be bought, obviously not financial advice. For the guys that watch me here, I have been bullish for a while. Yes, in the shorter term, I could be or have been wrong in the instance that we go up. But again, I am not a short-term trader. I am a longer-term investor, and I do believe a lot of this stuff will be going further. And I do think ETH here, buying at the same period as you pretty much could have done at the peak in 2018, is a absolutely fire sale, effectively. We talked about ETH going down to 1,000 earlier. Could that happen? Yes, sure. But as far as I'm concerned, your risk to the downside to that $1,000 mark is around about a 35% haircut. But your upside from here is 6K and beyond. So that is 285% to you tell me where the sky the limit is with this sort of stuff. But I also think maybe we should, today I want to touch on some more TradFi assets, because I actually think the TradFi assets have been hit, or individual assets have been hit a lot harder than specific cryptos. So just one, for instance, is Coinbase. Obviously, as Cryptosi just said, going forward, we will have more crypto-friendly regulations, not just in the US, I think globally. Now, Coinbase is obviously a US company. Brian Armstrong is now in Trump's bed effectively, and they will be working together going forwards. And as far as I'm concerned, Coinbase is on sale of approximately 54% discount at the moment. Again, it's already shown you where it can go, and I think the risk to reward here is great. And I think if you do go out to these bigger time frames, they are just coming in to retest some prior wicks or some prior support areas from a while ago. One of the other ones I think is a great buy here, obviously not financial advice, is AMD. We can see we had this falling or rising wedge forming over what looks to have been this bull market peak as of the moment. And then we had this, within this rising wedge, we had the breakdown, which we have then come to, which is around the $80 to $90 region. And we now have on the smaller time frames what could have been said as a falling wedge slash channel to the downside. We have broken that. What I think you could see, obviously in the shorter term, bear in mind this is a weekly chart, is that you get a reversal next week. That could be classed as a fake out. You then get your extended move to the upside, targeting back to this 120 area. But that would be classed as a bear market rally as you're coming into now what would be resistance. Another one that I think a lot of people are forgetting about is Tesla.
AMD is definitely a brave call.
Yeah, I think technically it works, and everyone's so focused on the video. I think they're just asking for someone to come and steal the spotlight, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
And I think
it's the second biggest chip manufacturer in the world, and
yeah,
I don't even know who number 3 is, but AMD still
I
produced.
think it's probably TSM, isn't it? Taiwan Semiconductors.
Oh yeah.
I think they're probably top 3. And then I think Tesla has got this perfect big diamond pattern here on the monthly, and what have we had of it? A breakout and a retest. Diamond patterns are notoriously continuation patterns. So I think if Tesla is to hold over this month and next, we could definitely see Tesla to these higher targets of mine, which go all the way up to near enough $2,000 in the future. Obviously, please bear in mind they probably won't be hit to around the 2030 period. I'm not expecting to see them in the next couple of months, although that would be fantastic if that happened. Other than that, I think there's some really good bargains in TradFi markets at the minute. For someone maybe that hasn't got TradingView and hasn't seen the absolute bloodbath we've had, this is the S&P over the last, I'd say, couple of days. So these gaps lower is when you literally get what me and Cryptosi have discussed, people just puking positions saying, get me out at any price. And this is when you see basically a waterfall effect of the stock market. And we've had the same thing in the NASDAQ. Obviously today we had a decent bounce so far. But what we'd want to see is these gaps get closed over the coming weeks to months. So has anyone else got any bargain buys that they think, obviously not financial advice, would be worth starting to nibble at here?
So I've got target prices where I'm like, if it gets to that price, I'm ultra bullish. So Solana, if it gets to $80, I'm ultra bullish. That's basically the easiest 300% ever, in my opinion. I do believe that we're gonna get. I do believe we've got further to go down. Target price for Ethereum is 1,300. Definitely be willing to buy more ETH at that price. Target price for BTC, anything at anything 70k or below, I believe is a big bargain. What else? Ton. If Ton pulls down to $2.40, I'm extremely bullish. And then Sui around $2.50.
Do you know the other things that have actually been holding up really well, and I think I said this last week that the bottom could be in on them, is the memes, the big memes. SPX,
yeah.
Bartcoin. So just for, I will share my screen just to show everyone.
what I find really interesting about SPX is that I see Murad push it all the time, obviously, but I don't know anyone in the real world who's actually bullish on it through
I
any kind
don't
of
hold
reason.
it, but I think it's found its foundation. I think it stays and probably goes to new highs. For anyone that hasn't seen the SPX chart before, this is it. I again could be wrong, but I feel the low is probably in. I don't think we're going to see. Obviously, if I think you see the S&P, Nasdaq, Bitcoin all have another flush, and I'm talking of the S&P down maybe another 10% from here, you could see SPX come down another 50 odd percent. But that reaction there, I think, tells us something. And I think there could be what is very similar to Fartcoin, some sort of head and shoulders here forming. And if that was to break, you could see SPX back up to, if we are to break out there, around $1.44 in the not too distant future. And I think it is the same with Fartcoin, because last time we viewed this, I think when we put our longs on, it was in a big head and shoulders, and lo and behold, we're still in it. So I don't think that is off the table yet. And like SPX, I think the bottom is probably in. I don't see Fartcoin making new lows, unless, of course, obviously, as I just mentioned, we see some sort of unlikely event that we continue to waterfall lower.
Yeah, I think the SPX, it seems to really resonate with the financial guys, like the bankers and guys like that who actually work trading the S&P day in, day out, those hedge fund guys. So I do speak to a few of those guys, and they went absolutely ballistic over SPX as soon as it came out, which was the reason why I managed to get in quite early on it. It was just
Why is that? Is it just the name that they like? Like, what is that about?
so. Remember, Murad gave this speech. He gave
Yeah,
this
a
keynote
really good speech.
at Token 24. Now, one guy I know, he said that that was the best keynote he'd ever seen in his life. Now, I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was the best that I'd ever seen in my life. But I think it was because in that he spoke to all of the factors that that particular type of person really respects and really cares about. And I
Yeah,
think that's what got SPX its start. And now I think SPX is really big in those circles. So I think SPX is possibly the Dogecoin of this cycle, because just purely because it doesn't have, I guess it doesn't have the kind of cult following that some of the other coins do, like maybe Giga or Fartcoin. But I think the brand of person who follows SPX, their savviness for trading, and I guess their amount of liquidity is probably going to be a little bit higher than some of the other meme coins.
yeah,
Mm.
agreed. Right,
So
is there anything else anyone wants to cover, or any more alpha they would like to drop before we get into predictions? And we will have Ninja do his predictions for next week as well.
and you can say anything you like, Ninja, because you won't be able to answer for it. So
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, sure. So, after nearly 10 years in crypto, I've actually recently got my first crypto job. I've been hired as a business developer for a meme coin that should be launching in Q2. All I can say is this. I can't say what the name of the project is because I don't want to be public about it until it's launched. But the theme is to take over the vegan market cap as it plays along with the beef theme. The vegan market cap is 25 billion. The founder and CEO of the projects who hired me, he was doing business development for two previous projects. A play to earn gaming project that he got me in on the pre-sale on. I invested one Ethereum in this pre-sale 14 months ago. When it launched, it was the most money that I've ever seen in my entire life in one day. One of my friends made his 2-month salary in a day. I saw 5 figures. I did a whole IG live about it. So obviously when somebody makes you that amount of money, you know, you hold them highly in in your mind. And then he got me on another in another project, like a Chinese meme coin, where from contract address, receiving the contract address with Financial Navigator and all-time high, it did a 300x. Although I only caught about 15 of them, because it basically went up, down, and then the God candle, and I sold before the God candle. So this
Same
guy
here.
yeah. This guy hit me up. Recently, saying, this is the first coin that he's launched. I've never launched a coin myself, just because I understand what goes behind it. So I really trust the founder. Right now, I'm just getting people in a private Telegram group. It's going to be on Solana. I can say as much as that. And if you want more information, I recorded a private 13-minute YouTube video, which you can get off Financial Navigator, of course. And there's a Telegram link. And degen responsibly. As it's one of those ones where, without saying how much money I'm looking to put in, it's going to be an amount of money where, if it were to 25, 30x, my life would improve. If I were to lose all of it, everything would be okay. I'd just be annoyed. So that's my kind of risk to reward. I'm not saying I'm going to do 30x. It's really it would be crazy to say that's what's going to happen, but that's what I'm aiming to do, and it's going to be fair launch as well. So nobody, including myself or the CEO, own any pre-token supply. Everything will be bought on market. So, if you want to know a bit more.
Interesting.
Did you say what network it's going to be on?
Yeah, it's going to be on Solana.
Okay.
Yeah, and it should be launched sometime in Q2, unless the markets continue to give us hell, in which we'll push it back to Q3, Q4.
Yeah.
But again, I don't own the supply. I'm not a founder. I just got hired to do a bit of biz dev, so I work on the project around 5 to 10 hours a week.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled, guys, for that. And like Ninja said, if you want the link to the YouTube, do let me know, and I'll be sure to pass it on. Right, we'll go into predictions for next week. So, shall we quickly cover where we left off? And it looks like Cryptosi, you had your one hit.
Yeah, so basically, I've got two alter egos. I've got one with a brain, and I've got one that's just bullish all the time.
Permeable.
And last week I started off with a brain, and then I just got carried away, and I just decided to be bullish. So, as always, it's generally, if you get Bitcoin right, you get everything else right.
Yeah.
And it looks like I've absolutely nailed Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But
so Bitcoin, you nailed. I didn't, unfortunately. Sui, I think you were the same as me. Is that correct?
yeah, we both went 280.
Yeah. Both failed
Is that how
on
cheap
that
Siri is?
one.
Oh my god, that's so cheap.
And then if you stick it on a monthly, like just for basic TA, you can see all we've done is retest prior highs effectively.
Well, Sui, you also got tapped out of your position on Hyperliquid.
Yes, I know, we were hanging in there, weren't we?
You were hanging in.
Unfortunately, you got tapped out.
Yeah.
But it's all for shits and giggles.
You had the leverage long on Siri.
Yeah, so every week at the end of the program when we do these, we choose one of the assets that we predicted and basically put our money where our mouth is on that trade, effectively.
What do you do? Like, are you buying spot or are you doing a leverage?
No, 3x leverage.
Yeah, small leverage.
Okay.
I know Cryptosi would like a bit more leverage than that, but I'm more of the less leverage, so we just went down the middle.
I don't use any leverage, so yeah.
Right, so AI 16Z, I believe, again, Cryptosi, you were the lower boundary at 14 cents, is that correct?
No, I said 25.
Oh, where was I?
Unless you said 14.
I haven't put our names on this one, so I don't actually know.
You must have said 14 then.
Right, okay. Whoever had the lower boundary, they were correct. Upper boundary, sadly,
we'll
wasn't in. Yeah. SPX, I think we both had the same. Again, I'm assuming it's at that 80 cents area.
No, that must be from the week before. We done Hyperliquid.
Ah, okay, I haven't added them in. Apologies. So we'll get rid of that. Hype. No, I haven't put them in here either.
Right, so Hyperliquid, you were $17.50.
Yeah, no,
And
didn't
I
happen.
was $20.
Yeah, mega balls.
Oh, mate.
Wow, Nando.
I was all in on Hyperliquid last week.
Yeah. So then what was the other one we did?
Fartcoin.
Filecoin. Right, okay. Please tell us we got one right on here.
Well, you were 58 and I was 60.
Oh, what did we get to on the weekly? We got to a high of 56.7.
No, I'll give you that one.
Couple of cents a month, friends. Eh?
Yeah. But at least we got the direction right on that one.
Yeah. And which one did you do your levered long on or short?
My one was, I think I was long. Oh, I don't remember. Was I long Fartcoin? I think I longed Fartcoin, and
I think you did.
I think I touched it as well. I think I longed Fartcoin. I think I touched it. I think I longed it, but I only longed it to 58.
Right, okay.
Let me see.
Right, so well, for assets this week, just while you're double checking that, do we want to we'll continue with Bitcoin as always. I think we'll sub Sui out, and should we go back with ETH?
Yep.
Okay, Ninja, any assets you would like to do predictions for this week?
Predictions. Yeah, let's do Solana.
Okay, we've got Solana in there as well.
So I need to predict, where do I think Solana's going to be 1 week from today?
Yeah, on all of these assets. So we'll just get them all together first.
Yeah, I like this. I like this.
So final two. We'll have one meme. Should we go back to the OG that is Doge?
Yeah.
Right, so we'll do Doge, and then it's normally 5 we do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it is. Right, there we go. Right, First of all, Bitcoin. Ninja, where do you think we are going next week?
I think next week we are going to be lower.
Or between now and next week?
Between now and next week, I think the price is going to go lower.
Okay. What price are you predicting?
What price am I predicting?
Yeah.
Let's go with 73.8.
73.8. There we go.
Yeah.
So you're saying fresh lows.
Yes.
Oh, very low.
Right. Cryptosi, where are you going?
I'm going to join him in the bearish camp. I'm going to say 74.
74,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so just above. I'll put in all the names in now, otherwise I'll forget. Can we be bullish? I feel we can. I'm going to take the bullish end of the stick. I'm going to say we could have a rally back up towards 84k as some sort of potential bearish retest.
So what did you say, 84?
Yeah. Right, ETH. Ninja, over to you again. Where do you think we'll be in the next week?
I think we will retest that wick, whatever that wick is.
So that is the 1400.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smart. Cryptosi, where do you think you're going?
1300.
Ooh. Mega Ball is now Mega Bear.
Mega bear. We're getting all the way down.
Yeah, we are. Again, I'm going to take the slightly bullish stance, and I'm going to say we could have a rally back up to the 1750.
Oh damn! You're the mega bull.
So, you gonna go for your target ninja of 80?
No, not next week. Not next week. I think we'll go down to where does that wick touch? That 95.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we'll be there. 95.
95. Cryptosi.
80.
Oh
Ooh,
God!
he's got his bearish hat on.
80.
Now we know in the future if he comes on wears this hat again that he's a mega bear.
It's go big or go home.
Indeed.
I-
Oh, see, so
If
hasn't even got
Solana
that
goes
much
to
room.
$80, it might be one of the clearest. It might be one of the clearest like 10x's of the whole cycle. Because I actually think Solana can hit close to $1,000 a cycle.
Yeah.
That's what I
It's
believe.
easy money to pick up if it gets down there.
I'm going to stick with my bearish camp because there's not even much downside to cover here. Even to the upside, I think is limited, and I'm going to say 130.
Damn. So, is this where one of you goes 3x short and the other goes 3x long?
Sometimes we're both long.
We could be both long, both short, whichever way we feel, but we have to take one of these as a trade. Fartcoin, Ninja, where do you think we are? Will hot air continue to rise?
No, I don't think so. I think Fartcoin will go down to like 40.
40 cents.
Yeah.
Okay. Cryptosi.
I think Fartcoin holds, I think it holds. But if everything else is going down, I'll say 40
Fartcoin's got
as
some
well.
serious headwinds.
I'll say 40 as well.
Okay. Be joining each other.
Yeah, that one's kind of bullish considering how bearish I've been on everything else.
Yeah. Right. I am going to
Wait,
continue to be
quickly. Do you, if you guys had to pick between AIXBT and Fartcoin, what would you pick? Because they both fight for mindshare
Fartcoin.
on Cookie.fun.
AI XBT.
Short-term Fartcoin, long-term AI16Z.
No, AI XBT, he said.
Oh,
Yeah,
AI
AI,
XBT. No,
yeah,
Fartcoin all day.
really.
Yeah. I think AI
What?
XBT, as much as it's a great thing, I ultimately think Fartcoin will outlast it.
Well,
Depending obviously what they do with it as well.
just because of the simplicity of like
Yeah,
people understanding what it is.
yeah. And as we know, memes can be in the top 10, do absolutely nothing and remain there for ages. And I think Fartcoin has the characteristics to maybe be one of these memes going forwards.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm going to be bullish and say Fartcoin will tag the 63 cents zone. And then finally, the Doge. Where do we think we're going?
Doge sliding down, mate. We're sliding down to 12 cents.
12 cents. Cryptosi, where are we going?
$11.
Ooh. The bears are out this week.
The bears are
They're all
out.
come out of hibernation. They're all getting prepped for winter.
Well, you know winter's nearly finished now, so
Yeah, mate.
all the bears come out.
Right, I'm going to remain in the bull camp. I'm going to say Doge could come back up to 18. So, now onto the leverage trades. Obviously, we will recover these next week and go over them. I think we'll do them first thing, probably, just to get an update on them all. Uh, which one are you going to take the trade in this week, Cryptosi?
I'm going to do. Um, First, I'll share my screen. But
I think I'm gonna take the Doge long.
Okay, all right. You want to do the Doge long? I'm going to do the ETH short. So
Nice.
first of all, let me.
Do you guys put a fixed amount of capital on this?
No,
Yeah.
we loaded it up with $100, isn't it?
Started off with $100 and we are down to $50. We were up to like 100 and something, 120, I think we were at our peak.
Yeah.
But it's been a tough few weeks. We've had a lot of being tapped out. Right, so you wanted to do
My Doge long, please.
Doge.
I would like a stop loss at 13 cents. And then my take profit at 18.
Oh my gosh. Alright. You'll take profit at 18
Please, sir.
and your stop loss at 15.
13.
13. I think that's about it. 3x. We are in long. In you go.
Time to turn this ship around.
I don't think so. I'm not a believer. I am not a believer. Right. That's all coins. ETH, I'm going short. Oh, do you know what we should have done? We should have done like a third, and then let Ninja have one.
Do it. Cancel my one then, quick.
So that way, if he loses
I don't
us
want to
money,
be responsible for your losses here. Don't blame me.
We'll send you a receipt.
I'm not doing any leverage, mate.
we could
We'll
take
send you a receipt with the bill as well.
we could take legal action when our account is blown up. Right. Okay. So let's. I might as well do mine whilst I'm here. So we'll do 33%. Oh no, because what will be the other
Do
two?
30%.
I'll do 30%, then I'll do 50% the next time, innit?
Yeah, do 30, 30, 30, leave the 10 for
No, because
trading
once I've done
things.
30, the next one won't be 30. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll do 33, then I'll do 50, and then I'll do. Right, 33 short. Take profit. I'll say 1400. Is that a bit too high? No, 1400 is fine. And stop loss 17. Yeah. Right, Ninja, what did you want to put on or not put on?
I want to do. Let's do the Sol one. Yeah, let's short Sol.
What's your take profit gonna be?
95 his target was.
Yeah, let's see.
And stop loss?
Stop loss. We'll get stopped out at. Let's call it 130. They're really bad odds. This is why I don't like leverage trading.
Do you want to go? Do you want to go 120?
Yeah, go on then.
I think 120 is.
Yeah.
And
That looks
1 to
more-
1. That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more reasonable.
Right. I reckon that Ninja's just made us some money there with that one. And
Well, as long as you two win this week and I lose, we're in the money.
we're in the money. Yeah. Okay, so you are a what? were you,
Doge long.
Doge long.
With a bit of luck, we'll get a bounce. My TP will be hit. You guys will remain in. Then we get the dump.
Then we get the dump, yeah. Or the other way around.
Yeah, or the other way around.
Right.
I think you're gonna have to make that about 95% just for other stuff.
What would you take profit?
18, I believe. Let me just have a look. Yeah, 18, and then a stop loss at 13.
18 is quite high for a take profit. You sure you don't want to go 17?
That's where my target was.
Okay.
I got to stick with it.
Okay. It's your funeral, sir. All right, so there we are.
And we're live.
We are live. We've got our 3 positions in there. $100 to $100,000 challenge is still on.
Will this week be the one we get liquidated?
I don't know. We generally don't all get. If one's going one direction and one's going the other, then we won't both get liquidated, will we? So
No,
we should be all right.
we shouldn't do. If not, we'll have to recoup, regather, and reload the account.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to chase those losses. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong
So-
with
Number one thing not to do: chase losses.
You know, so you know on this account, do you always have the same in terms of gain and loss? Like we adjusted mine where we take profit at 95, but then the stop loss is at 120. So it's like 36% on both sides, right? On win and loss. Do you have such rule sets?
No.
We're kind of just playing like fast and loose with this game, where we're just
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
all
doing
it's all a bit of fun. Nothing
Yeah.
too serious.
And the problem was, because we had this problem before, where I think that financial navigators take profit was too high. So we got up, we both went up, and it was like we knew the markets had turned against us. But because we were like, we got to sit in this position until Monday, we just sat in it and we didn't take the profit, and then we came back down again. And
Right.
I thought that we should have taken the profit there.
So we when we come to doing our predictions, we've probably knocked it back a bit in either direction
Yeah.
for the trade effectively. But any final words of wisdom, guys, before unfortunately this comes to an end?
Yes, stack stable coins, very important, and I feel like no one in crypto really thinks like this, but just like you should always increase your Bitcoin, and I still think you should increase your Ethereum, even though I'm feeling my ETH bullishness right now. I don't feel like people in crypto in general focus on the increase of their stablecoin. For me, it's a success to increase my stablecoin because it just gives me opportunities. Like right now, I'm sitting in a pretty large percentage allocation stablecoin ratio right now. I wish it was even higher. I wish it was like 80%, 90%, don't we all? But it's a good like 30, 40%. And it's not something that I see a lot of people doing, you know, like if things get to ultra mega cheap prices, like Solana are $80, $75, Ethereum to 1,300, Bitcoin to maybe 70K, I'll happily spend half of my stable coins, right? And then on the rise, 50, 70% rise, I'll just grab my stable coins back, and then I've basically just printed free crypto. So yeah, I think that's something that people should look at. Study Warren Buffett as well. That guy's really the GOAT when it comes to like I think it's really hard to discredit Buffett in the sense that this guy has a winning track record from the 50s.
No,
Do you
he's
know
a
what I mean?
goat.
So yeah, big on liquidity, big on cash, and big on learning about loan structures, especially if think about it like this, right? Loads of people are in huge drawdown right now, especially in their EV. You know, a lot of people are stacking EVMs. A lot of people got lots of BNB, AVAX, and Ethereum. If you've run out of cash, taking a loan towards the bottom to buy the same asset again and providing that as collateral is probably one of the wisest time decisions if you can really understand the power of loaning against your assets, which I didn't understand how to do till August 2023. Like, I did not know how to get an RV loan until 6, 7 years into crypto. But once I really understood it, I made it a huge part of my portfolio strategy.
Yeah. I think for anyone that's out there, it is underwater and you're new to this. As far as I'm concerned, the thought of, and I know there are a lot of macro people out there saying the world's going to implode and blah blah blah, and it's all going to go to zero. Just look at the S&P, stick it on like a quarterly chart, zoom out to the early 1960s, look at the chart and what has it done over time, up and to the right. Now, until the underlying fundamentals that they don't print money changes, it's going to be the same thing. So all this stuff we're seeing at the minute with tariffs, all these headlines that you're seeing, this headline tennis, whatever it could be, I think is all just noise. Obviously not financial advice. Unlike Ninja and Cryptosi, I am pretty much fully allocated. I have little to no stables left. All the capital that I do have that will be going in is from my 9 to 5, because I feel here the greatest risk to reward for myself and other people my age is them not being in the markets. So could the markets go down another 20-30%? Yeah, sure. Do I really care? No, because in 6, 12, 18 months time, we're probably going to be a hell of a lot higher than where we are now. So just take a step back, think about the bigger picture, just go smash the gym out, start meditating, whatever you need to do to get your mind off of what is going on in the finance world, because it will all blow over and we'll all be outside enjoying ourselves later down the line. So until next time, take care and we shall see you all soon. Adios.
Adios. Take care, guys. Appreciate being the first guest.